It's hard to say what tipped me off, but something tells me I'm no longer in the desert. In this episode, I'll take a quick jaunt through the seaside desert of the Peninsular de Paracas before bidding adios to the coast. With the Pacific at my back, it's then a 4-day ride on what I've dubbed the Andean Rollercoaster, ultimately lining me up for an assault on Machu Picchu. The golden glow of yesterday's evening sun has now yielded to the moody grey that I've come to recognise as the standard curtain raiser for a day in Pacific South America. With the dunes of Huacachina behind me, I'll once again be skirting the bustling metropolis that is Ica as I make my way back to the coast to check out the intriguing desert landscapes of the Peninsular de Paracas. It's not long before the gloom lifts, the driving skills return to Peruvian normal, and the urban clamour gives way to the peculiar spectacle of vineyards in the desert. We're not that far from Pisco, the town where most of these grapes will eventually find their way to people's lips in the form of its namesake and Peru's most celebrated spirit. Paracas is a small coastal town perched on the edge of a national reserve that shares its name. This natural wonder enjoys UNESCO World Heritage designation and also holds the honour of being home to Peru's only marine reserve. For time, I'll have to content myself with sampling the land-based delights, but the striking contrast of golden sand meeting deep blue sea is still a worthy prize. My journey takes me to what surely ranks as one of the world's most peculiar beaches. I've strolled along countless white shores and even trod the black sands of Iceland, but few places can claim a beach where red is the chosen hue. Reluctantly, I bid adios to this sun-kissed desert, realising that quite a long ride awaits, and regretting my lack of foresight in not allowing more time here, I grudgingly take my leave. This is my final encounter with the South American coastal desert. It's now time to swap the stark beauty for another taste of the dizzying Andean heights. With the reserve fading into the rearview mirror and my mind taking in the last of the ocean views, something odd stirring in the shallows caught my eye. Pulling over to investigate, I'm surprised to find a small flock of flamingos doing their thing amongst the waves. Flamingos in the sea feels like a pairing as incongruous as a penguin in the Sahara. Who knew? The road threads me back through the sleepy town of Paracas itself, before turning inland and rolling out through the fledgling Pisco fields. And it's not long before the Andes loom on the horizon once again. It'll be about 4 days from the coast to my destination in Peru's Sacred Valley, the quaint town of Ollantaytambo. And the ride promises to be one of the best of the trip. True Andes style, sea level is quickly a distant memory. In a mere 100 or so k's, I've climbed to over 2,600 metres and arrived at my stop for tonight, the literally breathtaking town of Huaytará. As I pull into the street where my hotel is, I'm greeted with a gradient that would make even a mountain goat pause for thought. The GoPro, with its penchant for flattening reality, struggles to show just how steep this road is, so you'll just have to trust me on this one. Day 33, and the only direction is both onwards and emphatically upwards. As I ease out of Huaytará, the first thing that strikes me is the sheer clarity of the morning. The usual shroud of murk has vanished, leaving the sky a clean slate, as if the day ahead has been preordained to be glorious. I've christened this road a roller coaster, not merely for its endless serpentine twists, but for the sheer audacity of its altitude changes. One moment you're at a dizzying 4,600 metres, the next you plunge to 2,000, only to be whisked back up to 4,000 again, as if the Andes themselves are toying with your sense of gravity. And if this isn't fun, they'll need to change the whole definition. After a steep climb, I find myself cresting the first peak of this roller coaster ride and straight into the first traces of another Andean volcanic landscape. The toll booth may be out of commission, but the local dogs have clearly missed the memo. Patrolling the area with the zeal of unpaid centuries, they seem very keen on enforcing payment. this altitude, towns are few and far between, so it's no wonder that ingenuity becomes a necessity when it comes to public transport. As I begin my descent on the other side, it strikes me that I haven't seen this much green in one place since I left Argentina. Tonight, my stop is Ayacucho, a mountain city perched high in the Andes, where the past and present tango with a kind of uneasy grace. Once a glittering jewel in the crown of Spanish colonial ambition, Ayacucho is well known for its breathtaking array of churches, as it is for its bloody history, the most recent episode of which took place in 2022, when the Peruvian army ruthlessly put down an aggressive protest with questionable levels of force. Fortunately, things are quiet today, which is fine, as I realise I need to devote my full concentration to the winding route down into town, courtesy of Garmin's latest special. As I inch closer to the centre, the traffic grinds to a halt with the kind of determination usually reserved for glaciers, and to add insult to injury, there my hotel stands, a tantalising mirage at the end of the street. Day 34, and the roller coaster continues to unfurl eastward. Ayacucho, despite its tumultuous past, manages to exude a laid-back charm that's surprisingly disarming, even if the tuk-tuk parking skills leave something to be desired. To my relief, the morning traffic is almost civilised today, though one does get the distinct impression that traffic lights in this city are regarded more in the basket of gentle suggestion than ironclad rule. But it's not long before Ayacucho recedes into the distance and I'm starting my next ascent. What feels like my 1000th switchback of the day so far, my route descends, and someone flips the colour switch from green to red. The altitude may have dropped, but no one told the temperature, which has spiked to a sweaty 34 degrees. The next uphill stretch arrives with a certain sense of relief, though the road itself looks like it's been through a few too many rough patches, quite literally. Still, the climb brings with it a welcome change, as if the elevation might just peel away some of the oppressive heat. Yet another canine projectile hurls itself at my ankles. I can't help but wonder if a rumour, perhaps born of a misunderstanding at the toll booth, had spread like wildfire through the local canine community. Another shift in the landscape heralds my impending arrival in Andahuaylas, today's final destination. With a swift descent to a mere 2,900 metres, I find myself once again in the heart of tuk-tuk country. And a brand spanking new hotel will give me a chance to digest the day's epic ride. After a pleasant stay, it's day 35 and the morning gloom has returned. But unlike its desert counterpart, I suspect this particular variety of gloom might come with the side order of rain. Peru has clearly taken the tuk-tuk to its heart, but here in Andahuaylas they've reached a level of devotion bordering on obsession. One can't help but wonder if the unofficial iTuk is something destined for Apple's product roadmap, or simply a sign of a step too far with this obsession. As suspected, I'm not long out of town before the heavens open, treating me to my first rainfall since I set out on my northward leg from Buenos Aires. No sooner has the roller coaster climbed back to 4,000 metres than I find myself enveloped in another Argentinian redux, thick fog. Thankfully, the fog seems to hold the rain at arm's length, and before long the ever-fickle mountain weather starts hinting at blue skies. I've opted to keep today's journey on the shorter side. An early arrival in Abancay offers the perfect chance to shake off the desert dust from my bike and afford myself a respite as well. It's my last day on the Peruvian roller coaster. Today I'm setting off for the quaint tourist haven of Ollantaytambo, which will serve as my launching pad for a long-awaited pilgrimage to Machu Picchu. Although the main roads between towns could easily double as a tarmac showroom, it appears the local council missed the memo, opting instead for more of a she'll be right mate type of approach. And so I bid adios to Abancay, one bounce at a time, and return to the mountain road, where the smooth tarmac feels like a well-deserved luxury after a rough ride. Unencumbered by the need to concentrate on the indignities of the road surface, I'm free instead to contemplate the ingenious Peruvian solution to the problem of automotive thermoregulation. As I crest the summit, the sullen sky finally makes good on its unspoken menace, unleashing a downpour with all the conviction of an overdue promise. A swift pause to wrestle on the waterproofs turns out to be a masterstroke. The kind of foresight that feels in hindsight less like prudence and more like pure genius. Yet as swiftly as it descended on me, the weather decides to make a hasty exit, as if realising it's overstayed its welcome, and just in time to clear the stage for the next descent. river valley signals a temporary farewell to the dizzying heights, a reprieve of sorts. But as if unwilling to exit the stage quietly, the weather prepares one final encore, parting shot to remind me who's really in charge up here. Reaching the outskirts of Huaytará marks not only the rain's retreat, but also the moment I pivot northward, ready for the final push towards Ollantaytambo. I had my sights set on a straight shot, but fate, in the form of another road closure and a thoroughly befuddled Garmin, had other plans. So instead, I found myself on an impromptu detour through the labyrinthian backstreets of the diminutive town of Huaytará. But no harm done. However, before long, a more formidable obstacle rears its head, as if the road itself has decided to up the ante. Just as I'm mulling over the lack of alternative routes in this remote stretch, a worker appears, gesturing me forward. At first glance, the situation looks grim. My limited Spanish leaves me grasping at fragments of meaning, but I catch the word esperar, which means to wait. Certainly not ideal, but infinitely better than being told to turn back. Before too long, the barriers are shifted aside and I'm waved through, nudged gently onward to continue my journey with all due caution. The problem quickly reveals itself in all its daunting glory. Faced with the unappealing prospect of an hour-long detour, I'm profoundly grateful that they've managed to at least partially clear this colossal rockfall. It's now a brief ride before I connect with the Sacred Valley and the last stretch into Ollantaytambo. Ollantaytambo is a town with all the rustic charm of a place that once existed simply for itself, but now finds its fortune tied to a train station, a gateway that allows for a mere 90-minute journey to Machu Picchu. And like everyone else, I intend to use this humble outpost as my staging ground for a grand assault on the Incan citadel. Aliens. Trains. Fertility. Condors. Ruins. Tourists. Hands. And Machu Picchu.